I want to thank one of the most active members of this House, Senator Omanga, for that hard work of the two statements. Maybe two quick observations. One, Mr. Speaker, on the statement on the issue of evictions. I think, Mr. Speaker, there is a steady rise of infrastructural evictees. In the past, we used to discuss about the forest evictees and IDPs, but it is unfortunate that infrastructural evictees continue to rise, especially in Nairobi City County, among other towns. Mr. Speaker, the biggest problem that we are facing as a country is that there seems to be a miscommunication between the agencies and the county governments. The notorious agencies of Kenya Urban Roads Authority, KURA, Kenya National Highway Authority, KENA, have been the people who are mostly do the evictions within the cities and because of expansion of roads and road reserve, Mr. Speaker. I think as a Committee of Roads and Transport, they should go beyond and understand what is the multi-agency between the coordination of KURA, KENA, and even National Construction Authority, NCA, Mr. Speaker. You saw yesterday in Kisumu, a building collapsed. And yet the NCA have been given authority to be the people who provide the standardization, ensure that the compliance is done. But the county government of Nairobi, Mr. Speaker, the KURA and KENA, there seems to be not proper coordination when it comes to evictions that we are seeing in the city. Mr. Speaker, the third point that I wanted to make is I thought there was a communication within government. Although there could be dysfunction with this government, let's assume that this functional government that has been there, Mr. Speaker, has indicated that there should be no evictions within the COVID period, Mr. Speaker. You can imagine evicting these people at this point in time. Most of Kenyans, according to KNBS last year, we indicated that 1.7 million Kenyans have lost their jobs. You can imagine that these Kenyans that are supposed to be evicted, Mr. Speaker, where will they get a job? Where will they get rent, Mr. Speaker? So I think going into the future, the Roads and Transport Committee must tell us the evictions that were done in Ruai, others that were done in Kawankwara and many other places, even in Meru and many other parts of the country, Mr. Speaker. The Roads and Transport Committee must tell us what was the communication of Ministry of Health, Interior Ministry, Mr. Speaker, and also the national government regards the evictions, especially, Mr. Speaker, during this COVID pandemic. And finally, on the first statement, Mr. Speaker, just one comment, is that the issue of kidnapping of children had become rampant of late, Mr. Speaker, and it is a worry to many parents, especially in Nairobi. We have seen cases where children are being kidnapped for various reasons, but DCI has not been able to crack. But I hope, Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I saw when the issue of Laikipia came up, the Minister of Interior, the IG and DCIO just sent some secretaries within their meetings to appear before the national security. But when it comes to the National Assembly, the CS and his entire team, including the ones that are put on their uniform, normally appear before the Committee of the National Security in National Assembly. So I hope when this matter of kidnappings, Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Interior, the DCI and IG and all relevant, even the head of issues of children's services within government, Mr. Speaker, and the ministry in line must appear in person before the National Security Committee of the Senate, Mr. Speaker, so that we are not treated to the drama where, and I think, Mr. Speaker, I want to request you that you need to re-emphasize the need as to why the head of those departments might appear before the committee, because, Mr. Speaker, we cannot operate that way. When it comes to National Assembly, they appear without qualms, but when it comes to Senate, they send their secretaries and their private assistants to appear before our committees. I think you need to re-emphasize that when you indicate that somebody should appear as per the Constitution of Kenya has been provided, they must appear as a cabinet secretary. The Constitution is very clear. It does not say the Chief Administrative Secretary, CAS, should appear because the Constitution does not comply with that. So I was disappointed, Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, that when the National Security Committee of the Senate invited the CS, they decided to send some busybodies within those ministries, Mr. Speaker. I think this one should stop. They should appear when required before this committee so that we can function. But if they think they should not appear, then it becomes contemptuous before the Senate of the Republic of Kenya. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.